The Babylon system, why Rastas step aside. Politics? That's Babylon business. And the Rastaman knows it. Rastas don't march to the rhythm of Babylon's drums, because Babylon is not built to liberate the soul, it is built to control it. Babylon is not about righteousness, it is about illusion. It promises hope with one hand and takes it away with the other. So tell I, why should a child of Jah vote for a system that was never designed to set them free? From the earliest days, Rastafari has stood in rebellion against the colonial mind, against the government systems that brought slavery, war, division, and deceit. Rasta saw what politics really is, a game of power, a trick of the serpent. In the days of Garvey and Selassie, Rastas watched the so-called leaders sign treaties, make speeches, wave flags, and yet the poor remained poor, the hungry still starved, and Africa still suffered. What good is a vote when the system is rigged? Babylon politics works by making the people choose sides, argue, and fight each other, left or right, red or blue, this or that. But Rastafari is not about sides, it's about oneness. Rasta comes to heal, not to divide. The moment a Rasta enters politics, they step into the trap. They become part of the confusion. And confusion is not of Jah. So while the world screams about elections and candidates, the Rastaman steps aside. He watches the drama from a place of overstanding. Because Babylon may change faces, but the system remains the same. And Rasta refuses to be a pawn on their chessboard. This is not apathy. This is rebellion. Spiritual rebellion. Because Jah ruleth in righteousness, not in backdoor deals and false promises. Theocracy, not democracy. Rastas follow Jah's government. The earth is Jah's, and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. And the government shall be upon his shoulders. This is not politics. This is theocracy. This is divine order. Rastafari does not bow to democracy because democracy is man's invention, not Jah's. It is built on the idea that a man can rule another man, that majority rules even when the majority walks in darkness. But Rasta knows better. Rasta knows that when man rules without Jah, corruption is inevitable. That's why Rasta chooses theocracy, the rule of Jah through the heart of the faithful. When Haile Selassie I sat upon the throne of Ethiopia, crowned King of Kings and Lord of Lords, it was not by election. It was prophecy, fulfillment of the word. Isaiah spoke it. Revelation sealed it. The conquering Lion of Judah has prevailed. So how can a Rasta bow to Babylon's parliament when the throne of David still lives? Democracy says, choose your leader. Theocracy says, your leader was chosen before you were born. Democracy says, vote every 4 years. Theocracy says, obey the laws written in your heart. That is why Rastas don't line up at polling stations. They already cast their vote for righteousness, for love, for truth. Their king is not a man who seeks applause. Their king is not a politician who promises change. Their king is Jah Rastafari, the Ancient of Days, whose kingdom has no end. This world worships ballots and campaigns, but the Rasta chants psalms and praises. The world watches debates, Rasta watches the signs. For where there is truth, there is no need for argument. And where Jah reigns, no other power can rule. Selassie I once said, spiritual power is the eternal guide, in this life and in the life to come. So Rasta builds no faith in political systems, for they rise and fall. But the kingdom of Jah, it standeth forever. The corruption of political power, why Rastas don't trust politicians. Style, documentary expose, with real-world examples, bold truths, and a critical tone. Power, it's the most dangerous drug on earth. And politics? That's the marketplace where it's sold. This is why Rastafari keeps far from it, because once a man enters Babylon's halls of power, he risks losing his soul. History proves it. Again and again. Look back. How many so-called freedom fighters became dictators once they tasted political power? How many leaders spoke about justice and equality, only to live in luxury while the people remained poor? Rasta has seen the masks, has heard the speeches, and has watched the betrayal. In Africa, leaders once rose with fire in their words. Kwame Nkrumah, Jomo Kenyatta, Patrice Lumumba. Some were silenced. Some were corrupted. Some became exactly what they once fought against. Babylon doesn't just oppose freedom. It absorbs it, twists it, and wears it like a disguise. And when the system fails, It blames the people for not voting hard enough. In Jamaica, where the Rastafari movement rose in the midst of poverty and oppression, Rastas were often marginalized by both political parties. They were persecuted in the Coral Gardens massacre of 1963, not by foreign enemies, but by their own government. And still, Babylon says, come vote, come participate, come be a citizen. But Rasta remembers. Rasta knows. You can't reform the fire that burns you. Politics doesn't just fail. It divides. It teaches people to fight their neighbor over colors, slogans, and empty promises. You see it every election. The anger, the false hope, the disappointment. The money spent on campaigns could feed thousands. The energy used in debates could build communities. But Babylon chooses noise over nourishment. And Rasta refuses to clap for that circus. Even when a leader is good-hearted, the system itself is designed to corrupt. The deals behind closed doors, the pressures from corporations, the seduction of fame and power. How many righteous men have stepped into politics, only to be swallowed whole by its machinery? Rasta walks with caution, not because of fear, but because of wisdom. Babylon's table is not a place for the children of light. Instead of elections, Rasta believes in reasoning, sitting together, sharing truth, seeking unity. No microphone, no media spin, no power struggle. Just people coming together in the name of righteousness. That is the way forward. That is where true leadership begins. Rastafari does not believe in political saviors. Jah is the only one who saves. So while Babylon argues over who should rule next, the Rasta is busy planting seeds, spiritual, cultural, and literal. Seeds that grow into self-reliance, into African unity, into Zion awareness. No more false hopes. No more campaigns. No more lies. Rasta stands outside the political system because Rasta sees through it. The power they chase is temporary, but the truth Rasta lives is eternal. Liberation starts within. Rasta freedom comes from the soul. True liberation is not granted by governments. It does not come wrapped in a flag. It is not declared on a stage or printed on ballots. True freedom is something far deeper. It is born inside the soul. And this is where Rastafari begins. The Rasta knows. You cannot wait for Babylon to set you free. The same system that enslaved you will not suddenly deliver your redemption. So while the world looks outside for change, through presidents, parliaments, and political parties, Rasta turns inward to the Most High within. Because Jah lives not in the palace, but in the temple of the heart. You see, Babylon wants you to believe that you are powerless without it, that you need it to speak, to eat, to move, to breathe. But Rasta tears that lie apart. Rasta lives self-reliant. Grow your own food. Reason with your community. Heal with the earth. Praise Jah every morning. That is the Rasta lifestyle, and it needs no approval from parliament or prime minister. Liberation is not permission, it is a birthright. It is in the way the Rasta walks through the city without shame. It is in the dreadlocks, each strand a declaration of divine identity. It is in the Ital food, the Nyabingi chant, the reasoning circles under the stars. These are not small things. These are acts of revolution. Silent ones. Powerful ones. Even under pressure, Rasta does not bend. Because he is already free. His mind has left captivity. His soul has found Zion. And no chain can hold a man whose spirit walks with Jah. That's why Rasta doesn't wait for politics to solve the crisis. He becomes the solution. He builds up the village. He lifts the youth. He chants down Babylon through example, not complaint. This is the higher work. Not sitting in protest, but rising in purpose. In the words of Marcus Garvey, we are going to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, for though others may free the body, none but ourselves can free the mind. And that's it, right there. That's why Rastafari steps away from Babylon politics. Because it's not about controlling Babylon. It's about leaving Babylon behind, mentally, spiritually, and physically. So when people ask, why don't Rastas vote? The answer is simple. We already chose. We chose Jah. We chose truth. We chose the path of eternal freedom, not temporary power. Rastafari is not just about rejecting Babylon. It's about building something better, a higher world, a righteous way of life rooted in truth, love, and unity. While Babylon argues over power, Rasta builds Zion, brick by brick, mind by mind, heart by heart. Because we don't need to reform the system. We need to replace it with livity. This is the true mission, not to take seats in Babylon's parliament, but to create spaces of righteousness in everyday life. Villages where food is grown with love. Schools where children are taught truth, not colonial lies. Homes where the name of Jah is spoken daily. Communities where there are no bosses, only brothers and sisters walking in divine order. This is the Zion vision, and it begins wherever you are. You don't need a law to love your neighbor. You don't need a government to feed the hungry. You don't need a political party to tell you what's right. The kingdom of Jah is within you. Rasta doesn't wait for the system to change. It becomes the change. Through music, healing, farming, meditation, prayer, ital cooking, and divine reasoning. Every action, no matter how small, becomes a rebellion against Babylon and a building block for Zion. Yes, the world is broken. Yes, the leaders lie. But the answer is not at the ballot box. The answer is in your hands, in your choices, in your livity. So what can you do? Start where you stand. Clean your heart. Reason with truth. Disconnect from Babylon's noise. Turn off the confusion and tune into Jah. Build something. A garden. A psalm. A prayer circle. A safe space for your people. Speak life. To the youth. To the elders. To the broken. Live as if the world you dream of already exists. Because in your livity, it does. You don't need a position to be a leader. You just need conviction. You don't need a title to carry out Jah's work. You just need faith. Rastafari shows us the greatest revolution is spiritual, not loud, not televised, but eternal. So rise up, stand firm, not in anger, but in purpose. Refuse the fake promises of Babylon and take up your role in Jah's army of light. This is your time. This is your calling. Don't vote Babylon in. Build Zion up. Jah lives. Jah reigns. Jah rules. Now and forever.